Live, start.
Hello and welcome to Mesila's second class in our series. My name is Batya Weinberg. It's a pleasure to meet all of you here today, wherever we may be sharing this experience. If it's in your kitchens, your living rooms, in your workplace, or anywhere else. What we're going to speak about today is Mesila's philosophy when it comes to financial stability. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to take the word Mesila, M-E-S-I-L-A, and we're going to use each one of those letters as a different aspect of our conversation and topics for the next 45 minutes. I'll stop afterwards for questions. I welcome questions. I look forward to hearing from you. Please don't hesitate. So M. M stands for, of course, Master of the Universe, but it also stands for money. So how do we balance our knowledge that Hashem does everything with our need to make money, to get money, to use money, to support others with money, to support ourselves with money? The answer is that the Master of the Universe, our M, set up a system. And that system is that he set up a situation in which we have to go and in this world that we live in, find windows of opportunity through which he will send his bracha. So we call that hishtadlus. Now, hishtadlus is not the same for everybody, and everyone's in a different situation. Somebody recently came to Rosh Steinman, and she said, if all the money I get is what's meant to come to me anyway from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so why can't I just do hishtadlus for a lower paying job and not a higher paying job? Why can't I do hishtadlus for a $35,000 a year job and not a $135,000 a year job? So he said, well, if you train yourself and you go and you interview for a lower paying job, then you've done hishtadlus for a lower paying job. And if you've gone and trained for a higher paying job, then you've done hishtadlus for a higher paying job. It's all part of the system that HaKadosh Baruch Hu set up. There's different means towards different ends. So we have to know M stands for Master of the Universe. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us in a certain situation. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us in a certain situation, and in that situation, we have opportunities to access the money M HaKadosh Baruch Hu has waiting for us. Now, of course, it's Rosh Chodesh Elul. I'm going to wish everybody a Chodesh Tov. This is all decided on Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us in Shamayim, he gives us a din on how much money we're meant to get for that year. We get that money by going by the rules of Hashem's game and accessing that money. And then once we use his rules and we access the money that he has meant for us through doing hishtadlus and being responsible and going according to those rules of this world, then we have to be careful not to squander that money. There's two aspects of the money that Hashem gives us. One is we have to open up those windows of Olam Haba in order to receive it. And the next thing we have to do is not squander it when we get it. We have to be responsible. We have to do things properly. So that's our M. Our M is the Master of the Universe has given us a certain amount of money, and we have to go according to the rules that he set forth in this world in order to access them.
I'm not hearing you clearly. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so I'll try and speak more clearly. Okay.
That's much better.
Wonderful.
Very much.
Okay, thank you. So that was M, and that's the M in Mesila. Let's go on to the E in Mesila. So we at Mesila say that financial stability is E for everybody. Now, not everybody has the same life circumstances, and that's what we're doing here today. We're acknowledging that each of us has our challenges, our specific life circumstances that give us the specific story that we have to work through. But that doesn't mean that not everybody can achieve financial stability. So let's go back to our M. If the Master of the Universe has set us up in a certain situation, and the Master of the Universe has given us a certain amount of money that we're meant to access through doing our hishtadlus and being responsible with it, that means that we will have what we need for the job that we're meant to do. And once we access that, and once we do it responsibly, then everyone, the E, everyone can achieve financial stability. Not everyone can be equally wealthy, and not everybody can handle money in the same way because we all have different strengths. Some people are more orderly, and some people are more thrifty, and some people need more things. But everybody, E, can achieve financial stability. Am I heard better now, by the way? Does someone want to let me know? Whoever was our friend who let me know before, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
With pleasure. It's good to have you here. So what does that mean, everybody? So it's very easy when we look at the amount of things we have to pay for and the amount of money coming in and all the outside emotional stresses on our lives to say it can't be done. But what we at Mesila have seen time and time again is that everybody can make changes in their lives. Everybody. Again, not everybody will have the same outcome at the end of the day because we're all different. Perfect world has perfect people. An imperfect world has imperfect people. I don't know about all of you. I'm pretty imperfect. So my life is also imperfect. That's how it goes. But that doesn't mean that I give up on my struggle for financial stability. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder, sometimes I'm more able, sometimes I'm less able. But everyone can do it. And not only can everyone do it, everyone really is supposed to do it. Because when we go back to our M in Mesila, our first idea, that the master of the universe gave us a certain amount of money that I need in order to achieve what I need to do in this world, that means that amount of money will have to be enough, and I can achieve it with the amount of money he gave me. So everyone has a job to do. Everyone has a certain amount of money that they can access through their hishtalos, and everybody, therefore, can achieve financial stability through doing their best. So we have our M, we have our E. Let's go on to our S. For those of you who have just joined us, we are using the word Mesila, M-E-S-I-L-A, to examine Mesila philosophy. And our S is going to stand for satisfaction. There are a lot of challenges, and people are dealing with tension, with anxiety, with despair, with relationship issues, illness, children who have learning problems. But at the trunk, we look at all of those as branches. At the trunk of all those issues, we have a big dollar sign. And that dollar sign means that when someone's not dealing with their money in a responsible and mature and proper way, then they will make all those problems more difficult. They will make all those problems more difficult to deal with. Sometimes not handling money properly causes some of those problems. Always does not handling money properly make those problems more difficult. On the other hand, the satisfaction a person can achieve by knowing that they've done everything they can to solve their own problems with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's help is something that cannot be underestimated. The feeling that a person can have when they've gotten their finances in order and they can go to the tuition committee and pay a certain amount of tuition that they haven't been able to pay before, what a great feeling. What a feeling of satisfaction. When a child needs something, and by going without something that was less important because a person prioritized and thought things through, and worked together with the other people in their family to decide what's important in this family. What are we going to have, and what are we going to give up? Not because we're trying to limit ourselves, but because we want to decide what we really need to have, what's really important to us, what we really want to access, what are our true goals, and we realize what our goals are. And then we, like I said before, we prioritize, we gain awareness, we create a structure that empowers us. It creates a tremendous satisfaction. And I can't describe to you being a part of Mesila. We see that satisfaction that families bring into their lives, that individuals bring into their lives, that mothers bring into their lives, that children bring into their lives. By handling the finances properly, it's a key to so many other issues. There's so many other issues that are improved when our finances are handled properly. And so many other issues are made worse when our finances are not handled properly. So S stands for satisfaction, because we at Mesila know how much satisfaction a person can have when they start handling their money properly, not because money is the issue, but because that money will help us deal with so many other important things in our life satisfactorily and with satisfaction. Excuse me. Okay, so we have our M, we have our E, we have our S, and that was satisfaction. And now let's go on to I. I stands for independence. The goal of financial independence meaning that you can stand on your own 2 feet. It's something that we wish for you, we'd like to help you with, and we hope you'll help yourself with. Because a family that is financially independent, a family that supports themselves, and a family that has to depend less on others is a family that will be happier, will be able to stand taller, and will be able to access so many good things for themselves. Now, this goal is a tremendous one. And for some people, it's a bigger one, and for some people, it's more accessible. Like many goals, we're not looking for all or nothing. And that's true for everything we've been talking about. For all of financial stability, if my finances are completely out of whack, I'm not going to get them in whack by tomorrow, and probably not by next month, and maybe not even by next year. Getting your finances in order is sort of like getting your diet in order, or getting your ruchnius in order, or getting your relationships in order, or how about getting your house in order? That doesn't happen overnight. You might clean up once, but if you don't have a good system, it's just going to all fall apart again. So how do you get a good system? Well, as of now, I've got a good system. That doesn't happen. If you're not a systemized person, or if you haven't been working with a good system, you're not going to figure it out by tomorrow. It's a lifelong process. And therefore, if this Erev Shabbos, your house is a little, let's say this is your issue, your house is a little bit less of a mess than it was last Erev Shabbos, instead of looking around and saying, what a mess, you can look around and say, wow, this place looks a lot better than last Shabbos. And if somebody has a few pounds to lose, so if they've lost some of it, if they look in the mirror and they say, wow, I still have such a ways to go, instead of understanding that, wow, a person's not going to reach their ideal weight by tomorrow. So how are they ever going to get anywhere? We have to appreciate what we've accomplished. So when we talk about independence, it's a very, very important basis to all that, and really to anything having to do with financial independence. And that is, it is not all or nothing. Life is not all or nothing. Now, Chazal tell us that Adam Nikar Bekiso, a person can be judged by how they deal with money. Also by Kaso and also by Koso. That's not today's discussion. But today's discussion is however you and I deal with money is probably how we deal with things in the rest of our life. Now, if we look at our money and we say, well, forget it. I anyway am in debt. I might as well just spend another $100. So I probably do that with everything in my life. It's an all or nothing proposition. I'm probably someone who it's either all good or all bad. I've got it all in check or let it all fall apart. That's Adam Nikar Bekiso. A person will act with their money the way they act in all areas of their life. If somebody's very tight with money and very anxious with money, chances are they're tight and anxious in other areas of their life. So when we talk about financial independence, if you're a person who feels that it's all or nothing, it could be you feel it's all or nothing with your ruchnius, with your dieting, and with your cleaning your house. In that case, you'll think it's all or nothing with your finances also. But it's not true in all of those categories. Every little bit is important. And the way we say it at Mesila is we like to quote Chazal. Chazal say, pruta pruta mitzarefes. Every little bit counts. That means if you're saving up for something, then every little penny you save up, every dime, every nickel, every dollar set aside is going to eventually add up a little bit. But that's not just true when you save up for a vacation. It's true in every area of our life. The little steps add up to big steps. So if you at this point are spending beyond what your budget is, or spending beyond what you have coming in, or have to rely on outside help for a certain amount, well, you're not going to be able to go from, let's say, $3,000 or $2,000 a month to nothing by next week. Of course not. But if you can find yourself $50 more independence, $50 more within what the income is that you're bringing in, $50 more responsible this month, you've done something fantastic, because it'll be $50 one month and $50 the next month and $50 onwards, and you are making yourself into a more independent person. You are making yourself into a more responsible person. It's not all or nothing. Financial independence is extremely important, but it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Just like a person doesn't have to go from a full scholarship to full tuition over 1 year. But if a person's able to pay partial tuition, for example, everyone's different, just using that as an example. But if somebody's able to do a little bit, wow, you've accomplished something phenomenal. You'll feel better, your family will feel different. it'll be great. So our I stands for independence. Okay, so we have M. M is, just to review, the master of the universe gives us money. We have to play by his rules, and therefore we have to be proactive. We have to do our part. We have to open up the windows of nature in order to access what HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us, and we can't waste it. That's M. E is everyone. We can all become financially independent. Maybe not overnight. We can all do better. S is satisfaction. Everybody will reap the fruits of working hard. We work hard on our personalities. We work hard on our lives. We work hard on our families, and we will all reap the fruits of that hard work to have satisfaction when we incorporate these ideas. And I is independence. As much as possible, that's what we'll try and do. Let's go on to L. We at Mesila wish on everybody that when we say the tefillah every day, when we wash, and we say, V'na al tatzrichenu Hashem Elokeinu, lo lidei matnas basar v'dam. Hashem, please don't put us in a situation where we have to take money from others. We spoke about that in I, in independence. But lo lidei halvasa, and we shouldn't have to take loans. That's our L. L is for loans. Loans is an extremely difficult thing. Loans is something that enslaves us. Loans is something that puts us at a disadvantage. And it's something that has been a central prayer of the Jewish people of all time. And please, God, do not put us in a situation where we have to come on to other people or have to take loans from them. Are there circumstances in which a person may be driven to take a loan? It could happen. We look at that as the most far-reaching, desperate circumstance, because loans is something that bites us, that enslaves us, that puts us under pressure. And therefore, if I can get over to you in any way, that we at Mesila beseech you, try and stay away from borrowing money. Borrowing money is something that chases us and ruins our sleep and gets in the way of other important things. L is for loans, and loans is something we wish for you. If Hashem hears your prayers and you don't have to take loans. V'na al tatzrichenu Hashem Elokeinu, lo lidei manas basar v'dam, lo lidei halvasa. Please, Hashem, don't put us in a situation where we need to take a loan. When somebody takes a loan, they need to know where they're going to pay that loan back from. If a person doesn't know where they're going to pay that loan back from, that becomes a very serious halacha question, one that has to be dealt with a posek. And we ask you, please, before you take any loan, make sure to ask a posek. But what we hope for you through this webinar is that through the different classes and experiences that we will be doing together, what we did last week and this week and over the next few weeks, that when we're able to live with what we have, we can stay away from the curse called a loan, because it ruins us. So if a person doesn't have the money, and then they take a credit card and they swipe that credit card, they still don't have the money. I'm going to put it in the following way, and I feel like all of us can relate to this. At the end of the month, so many people don't have the money in their pocket that they need for certain things. We fall short. How many of us can look over that month and think, well, if I can only get into a time machine, go back to the first of the month or the second of the month when I had some money in my pocket, and I perhaps was a little bit too liberal, and take those things that I bought. I'd like to trade them in, please. Now, today is the 16th or 17th of the month. I'd like to go back to the 3rd or the 4th of the month, and a couple of things I bought there that I didn't really need, and I needed so much more today. Can I please trade it in? But of course, we can't do that. So L is for loans, the realization that when we take money out of our pocket and don't think it through properly, we are leading ourselves to a circumstance where we may have to take loans. Now, there's different kinds of loans. If you're taking a business loan to start a business, that's great. You know why? Because that's a loan that's going to give fruit, that's going to give payrolls, that you're going to be able to live off of. That's a positive loan. But a loan that you take in order to bridge the end of the month, well, that's this month. What about next month? And therefore, at Mesila, we ask you, your first step should realize that from a Torah perspective, and we at Mesila see this constantly, loans is something to try to stay away from at all costs. Okay, we're almost at the end of our Mesila. We have M, Master of the Universe, gives us money. We have E, everyone can achieve financial stability. We have S, satisfaction that can come through getting our finances in order. We have our I, independence. It's a bracha we give all of you that you should achieve that. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, but at some level, working towards that goal. Loans is something we ask you to please try and minimize. And finally, we come to A. A stands for attitude. And really, our attitudes is what is going to establish if we succeed or don't succeed. We see it, we all see it, and we see it every day. When we have a good attitude, everything becomes manageable. And when we're down on ourselves and down on our situation, nothing's manageable. When we look at money, so many attitudes bring us down. So many attitudes make things difficult. We look around the world and we compare ourselves to other people. Well, if everyone has that, why can't I manage it? Well, that's an attitude that is going to trip ourselves out through that attitude. That is an attitude that will undermine ourselves. An attitude of, I can't help it. This is a circumstance. I was always like this. I never succeeded. Nothing ever worked well for me. Well, that's going to undermine ourselves. It's not true. We can all, remember the E, everyone can do it. Looking around and saying, why me? That's an attitude that will undermine me. If I say, why me, I'll be undermined. But if I say, I can, then I truly can. So A stands for attitude. We at Mesila have seen that when a person changes their attitude from I can't to I can, from it won't work to it will work, to everyone else but not me, to everyone else plus me also. From being reactive, this is how it goes, this is what happens to me, this is how life treats me, that's reactive, to proactive. How can I change my circumstance? What can I do differently? And like we said before, you're not going to change everything by tomorrow. But your attitude can change right now, and we can start to make small steps, small changes. I'd like to share with you a story that came into Mesila, a letter, and this is from the most outstanding book that Mesila has put out. It's called Your Money and Your Life, the most outstanding and excellent publication. There's all different kinds of letters and questions that came into Mesila, and I would like to read one of them to you and use some of the tools we've spoken about today to try and answer the question together. I am an almana with several children, most of whom are in their teens. This is a letter that came into Mesila and was answered originally on the pages of Hamodia, published in Your Money and Your Life by Mrs. Malki Heinholz. When my husband was nifter, he left a small insurance policy, invested in mutual funds, and I've spent nearly half of it. I feel that the remaining life insurance money should be left to grow and help the children when the time comes for them to marry. I bring in a small income from a secretarial job, and I also receive government benefits. My income and government benefits are not quite enough for me to live off of, but the members of the community where I live are very kind to me, giving me large cash gifts several times a year, usually before Yom Tov. Baruch Hashem, we have all that we need, and much, much more. The problem is that it's very hard for me to budget this way. I don't know when I will receive money or how much it will be. I have a feeling that I'm spending too much and my children are getting accustomed to a lifestyle standard that they and I will not be able to maintain when they have their own families. When I discuss concerns with the Rebbetzins, Virim, and even friends, they all reply by saying, don't worry, you and your kids have suffered enough. Of course you need this much household help. You should be happy. Your kids should be happy. It's okay to treat yourself once in a while. My food bill seems astronomical, but I don't know how to keep it down, and I have no idea how it compares to other people's. When I try and discuss this with the people who help me, they tell me not to worry, that my family should have good food, and that if I need anything more, I should just ask. So I accumulate large credit card bills and pay them off with a line of credit at the bank, which gets partially paid for by a gift at some point, and so on. It's hard for me to budget or make financial decisions regarding what or what not to spend, but I don't know how much I'll be getting and when. Is there anything I can do to make my financial situation more stable? I dream of being financially independent, but I'm not sure if it is realistical. How did Mesila answer this woman? Now, it's a long answer, and there's a lot of different aspects to this answer. And obviously, this woman's situation is one situation, everyone's is different. As an aside, I want to say that if anybody wants to contact us at Mesila, we'll be very happy to send you a copy of this article and the full answer. You can contact us at info@Mesila, info at Mesila, MESILA.org, info@Mesila.org, and we'll be delighted to send you this full article, which I think is relevant to many of our listeners and viewers tonight and this morning, wherever you may be in the world. But what is our answer to this woman? So let's take the tools that we mentioned and let's see if we can apply them. MESILA. I'd like to work backwards. A, attitude. You know, at Mesila we found that when people become dependent and are not supporting themselves, it's very difficult for them to change that attitude and go from dependency to independence. This woman is remarkable because the main thrust of her letter is, I am dependent on others, I'm grateful, but I'd like to be independent. I think that'll be much more healthy for my family. Wow, that's fantastic. So the first thing we say to this woman is, your attitude is phenomenal. Your attitude is great. Your attitude is an inspiration. And slowly but surely, you can reach that goal of going from dependence to independence. The next thing that we should know with this woman is, yes, the loans that she's taking, nobody else, the loans that she's taking are undermining her attempt to be financially independent. And therefore, she has to try and limit that as much as possible. She has to try and wean herself off the loans that she's taking, the line of credit that she's talking about, overextending her budget that she's talking about, because it's frustrating her. And as much as everybody's being very kind, and they are kind, and me ka'am Yisrael, it's so beautiful, but at the end of the day, she understands the importance of having financial stability for her and her family, and the loans are going to undermine her. So slowly to wean herself off those loans. Obviously the whole discussion is about independence. So we have her attitude, loans, independence, and satisfaction. There's something in her that just remains unsatisfied, because although she says her family seems to be doing well, she's unsatisfied that she does not feel in control of her finances. She doesn't feel empowered to make proper decisions for her. She's concerned that her family's getting used to a standard of living that's not really where they're holding, which means that for the rest of their lives they're going to need that standard. That's not healthy. What makes a person poor? A person's poor when they have less than what they're accustomed to or what they're expecting. What makes a person wealthy? When a person has more than they're expecting or more than they're accustomed to, then they feel rich. So if a person is raised with simplicity, then it's very easy for them to feel wealthy, because anytime they have anything above that simplicity, they'll feel like they have everything. On the other hand, if a person is raised with a lot, as much as their parents feel like they're giving them so much, but for the rest of their life, it's hard for them to feel that they have enough, because they need to meet that standard. So when this wonderful woman who wrote this letter said that she's worried that she's accustoming her children to a high standard of living, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that is that for the rest of their lives, it's going to be hard for these children to feel rich. It's going to be hard for them to feel wealthy. And particularly if it's above the standard that she can sustain. And therefore, she understands that the satisfaction that she can give her children is by living within the real standard of living that's proper for her and her family, to live at the real level that she can afford to do, for her to be in control of her finances, to achieve financial stability, and in that way to achieve satisfaction. And as we see from this letter, here's a woman who's raising 7 children on her own, and yet she, through her great attitude, is going to achieve financial stability. That's the E for everyone. And back up to our first issue that we brought up, our M, and master of the universe. She has the tools at her disposal. She does have a small amount of investments that her husband left for her. She can handle that properly, which we invite her to do, and she can let it keep reaping benefit for her and her family. She was given certain tools. She has the ability to be proactive, and therefore, through her accessing both the emotional and spiritual tools, as well as the financial tools that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives her, she indeed will be able to achieve financial stability. That's our MESILNA. Once again, anyone who's interested in getting the full copy of the question and answer, the book is Your Money and Your Life by Mrs. M. Heimowitz, and it can be ordered, the full book can be ordered at Mesila, info@mesila.org, or we can send you the essay, info@mesila.org. I'd like to stop now, and if anybody has any questions, I would be delighted to take them. Okay, I'm going to ask my audience now, whoever's joining us today, to submit questions. Okay, so I see there are no questions. That's wonderful. I'm glad I was clear. In which case, I'd like to continue with one final point. We started out by talking about Hishtadlus and Bitachon. We spoke about the master of the universe who gives us money. Bitachon is the most important and most effective tool for achieving financial stability, as Bitachon is a direct vehicle for blessing and parnasa. Hashem promises to provide for those who trust in Him. And therefore, when we talk about Bitachon, as much as we talk about financial stability, we have to understand that at the end of the day, when we've done our job, we've done our hishtadlus, we've done everything that Hashem wants us to do in this world, at that point, we submit ourselves to Hashem's will, and we say, whatever happens was in His hands. If we haven't done our hishtadlus, even if we haven't attempted, we haven't gone out there to be proactive and open those windows that we spoke about before in this world through which Hashem sends blessing, then saying everything's in Hashem's hands is not the proper approach. But knowing that everything is in Hashem's hands, and yet He expects us to do certain things, is very invigorating and very empowering. And that means that once we've done our hishtadlus, we've done what we're supposed to do, we've gone and we've tried to access what Hashem has out there for us, and then if it does work or if it doesn't work, at that point, then we can submit ourselves to His will, and we can say whatever's meant to happen will happen. I'd like to quote Rabbi Eliezer Carmel, a very special visionary here at Mesila. And what he always talks about when he discusses the Mesila philosophies, he talks about prayer, he talks about tefillah. And this is Chodesh Elul, and tefillah is so intrinsic and integral to this month. He says when a person comes to a point and they've done the proper hishtadlus, they've done what they're supposed to do, and then the money is not there, and they so badly want to be able to provide that child with X, or they so want to be able to do Y for Shabbos, and they've done what they're supposed to do, and it didn't come, it's not there. So what do we do at that point? What are we meant to do? He says so beautifully, he says credit cards, loans, dependency has robbed us of our ability to connect to Kadosh Baruch Hu at those moments. Because if we understand that Kadosh Baruch Hu set up the system, He set up my life, He set up my challenges, He gave me instructions for how to deal with those challenges. I've dealt with those challenges, and it's still so hard. At that point, that's my opportunity to turn to Him, because that's where the answers lie. Once I've done my job, I've responsibly looked for the right job, trained myself properly, dealt with what comes in the right way, prioritized, worked as a team with my family, done everything that I can, and it still didn't work, and it's still hard, and I still don't have what I feel I need, or clearly He doesn't think I need, that's the time we turn to Kadosh Baruch Hu and tefillah. It is so powerful. People sometimes think that our hishtadlus is our tefillah. No. There's two different ideas. Hishtadlus are the natural techniques and conditions that we use in this world in order to access nature. Tefillah is what we do separate from that. When we've done our hishtadlus, we've done whatever we can to access responsibly and properly the financial situation or whatever natural solution we were supposed to try and do. And when we've done what we need to do, Then we can let go and say, Hashem, it's in your hands. And when it's still hard, then we say, Hashem, only you have the tools, only you have the power. So once again, in the name of Mesila, I thank you so much for joining us today. I thank you for listening to these incredible tools. And at the end of the day, we will dive in together that all the different techniques that we try and help people to develop and implement, and all the different ideas that I've shared with you, which are all coming from the Torah, are all Jewish ideas for finance. At the end of the day, we dive in to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we should have help from Him, Siyata Dishmaya, that it should all come forth in a positive way that's pleasant for us and easy for us to deal with. Thank you so much for your time tonight, and thank you for